welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm going to be giving my on second thought about Raging Bull. So this is your spoiler warning. I'm going to be talking about the movie in its entirety, so I'm going to spoil some things. So if you haven't seen it yet, you should click away now, go watch it, come back, and we'll talk about it then. So Raging Bull is not Scorsese's second film. It's not even close to it, but it's the second film that I've seen by him chronologically. So I wanted to talk about that. It's also a classic, so there is a lot to talk about it. For those of you who don't know, it is based on a true story about a boxer's rise to fame and then eventual fall from glory, starring Robert DeNiro, and like I said, directed by Martin Scorsese. Now, this is as good of a time as ever to mention that's also edited by Thelma Schoonmaker, which she'd done a couple of his movies before this. I just haven't seen any of them yet. She didn't work on Taxi Driver. This is the first time I've seen them work together. And her editing style is controversial. I think most people like it, but it is very different. It's not good on purpose in a lot of ways. They've admitted to their editing style being abrupt and imperfect and different things to get a certain feeling across. And I think a lot of people actually really like it. I'm not one of those people. I do not like her editing style. I don't like how they do most of the things they do. So there's a couple different examples of that. They like to do weird abrupt cuts, even down to you'll be having a conversation between two people. You'll have the camera on one person, you'll pan to the other person, and then you'll be panning back, and then you'll do an abrupt cut, and it will be on the other person. I don't like that, and I get why they do it, and the first few times I saw it, I was like, that's surprising that they would use such sloppy editing to try to cover over bad filmmaking, but they've admitted that they do it on purpose, and that they like it, and that it gets across a certain feeling for different scenes. I think in some scenes, it's fine. In others, like the one I just mentioned, no, not at all. I don't like that at all. Now, that being said, that I don't like her editing style at all, and it's usually annoying and jarring and takes me out of the movie, it worked pretty well in this movie for the most part. And that also works in really well with the directing style, the camera work style in this movie, which was, by the way, groundbreaking. Having the cameraman in the ring with the boxers was awesome. Having it right over their shoulder, having all of these different looks, it was awesome. It looks great. It holds up still today, and it's something that had never been done before in that kind of scenario. And a cool editing trick that they do with that also is when a guy gets knocked over, sometimes it's sped up. And so that resembles how it feels to be knocked down in that situation. You're hit, and then the next thing you know, you're on the ground. And then also, right after that, it cuts to Robert De Niro looking over the guy he knocked down, and he's in slow motion, resembling the feeling of how you feel when you're in a physical sport and you've accomplished something and everything kind of just slows down. And it's really cool editing tricks, especially for somebody who's not a sports fan. As Scorsese has said, he's not a sports fan. He doesn't like sports movies. He was convinced to do this by De Niro. That's a great understanding of what it's like to be in physical sport like that. That's great understanding, and it was great work. And for somebody who is not a fan of that editor, you know what, props to you, you did it well. That being said, the stylism of this movie is my favorite part about the movie. The film itself and the plot is pretty basic, and that's not the filmmaker's fault. It's a true story. It's just following this guy's life. It's a standard cautionary tale about what can happen to you when you get too big for yourself, and when fame gets to your head, and when your anger goes uncontrolled. And it shows that very well. You actually get frustrated as you see this guy make these stupid mistakes that you just don't do it. And it's funny to look at that actually this versus Taxi Driver I like for the opposite reasons. I like the idea behind Taxi Driver, like I said, don't love the execution. The idea behind this movie is fine, but I don't love it but the execution was great. So it's funny to see that swapped like that. That's rare that you see that from a single director, especially one that doesn't write his own stories. He doesn't actually come up with his plots. He usually gets a writer to do it for him or bases it off of something that was already written, like this. Normally in those cases, you either like the director or you don't. They're not gonna redeem themselves with a good story because they're not coming up with the story. So normally it's just they're a good director or not. And not that he was a bad director in Taxi Driver. He was fine. He's just better in this. But like I said, the story is pretty basic. And you might like that kind of story, but it is a kind of story that's been told a lot. So if you're into that, cool, awesome, you can enjoy it. And Scorsese himself even seems to be into this kind of story too. He does this arc a lot. Granted, this is probably the first time he's done it, but still, he does it a lot. So I actually feel very similarly about this than I do to Taxi Driver. It's good. I think great might be stretching it though. And you might be noticing a pattern with me and Scorsese. I like Scorsese. I don't love Scorsese. I love some movies by Scorsese. We haven't gotten to them yet. But I don't love all of his movies, and his filmmaking is consistently good, rarely great. I know that's a controversial opinion about him, but I think he is always good, rarely great. That being said, it is a very entertaining movie, and it's groundbreaking in its camera work and editing style. It's very original for that. So that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. Thanks, guys. Bye.